Once you've begun creating your model, it doesn't have to be complete before you start creating your materials. At some point, you'll have to start working on the materials or the surface properties of the geometry in your scene. Materials are extremely important. You can have a model that's been poorly created and make it look good by applying properly created materials. We're going to first take a look at the slate material editor that's available for creating materials in 3ds Max. This is a new editor and has been added into 3ds Max 2011. This is a visual material editor that provides a way of working with materials in a schematic editing mode. In the slate material editor, you create materials by wiring together maps and shaders that graphically display the structure of your materials while you create it. Nodes is a term you'll be introduced to that is used by the slate material editor. A node is essentially an individual element that when combined can be used to create complex material networks. We will then look at a material type called Arch in Design. For these exercises, we'll be using the Mental Ray renderer. This material type is a very good choice when using Mental Ray. It's flexible and it's relatively efficient. We'll learn about shaders that are used within the material. The material is what gets assigned to the objects in the scene. The shaders are elements of a material that accept some form of input to generate some form of output. It may simply be a color or it may be patterns. There are lots of options. We'll look at the process of mapping. We've just learned about using the map scalar modifier to map a pattern of roof shingles onto some geometry. Here we're going to look a little more in depth and learn how to get some more control over our mapping. We'll then look at the important process of applying multiple materials to single objects. By default, you can put one material on one object, but there are many times when we need to put more than one material onto a single object. We'll look at various methods for doing that. The first method we'll look at is called the multi-subobject material. In fact, we've already been introduced to that. When we were editing the polygon level to create a window, we were setting material ID numbers. That will come up again when using the multi-subobject material. We'll also learn a technique for applying multiple materials called masking. This is where we take two materials and hide one or the other with a black and white mask. Then finally, we'll learn about creating and using material libraries. Once you've created your materials using the material editor, they're active and available for use in your scene. However, if you load another scene, there's no way to use those materials unless you save them to a library. Then they can be opened from any scene.